Nice. Okay, and today is August 1st, and our class is Introduction to Programming. Well, today is a very important topic, and I decided to add a little bit of extra from my side, from experience, from my knowledge. So I got some unusual introduction for you, and we're gonna cover some like basic topics of network, like computer communications, computing, and stuff, how the computer and IT works on a very high level. Beside HTML and CSS. Oh my God, I think I'm having issues again. I think I was breaking up. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Nice. So, sorry, I'll ask again. Do you guys have any background in programming or computing, or like computer science, or not computer science? I mean, something like related to it, besides HTML and CSS.
I know Java.
Java?
Yes. And I
Oh,
understand what's in Python and a little bit JavaScript.
nice.
Yeah, I also know Java and Python, but not that much. It's just in school.
Nice. Awesome. Anybody else?
Yeah, I have a little bit experience.
What are you doing over here?
Yeah, I think the rest of us are not familiar with Java, with programming and computer science that much, but that's why we are here. Before we start, I would like you to take a look at this picture. It's some sort of the wall, cave wall pictures being written in ages before humanity, like before like Homo sapiens was like I was born, whatever that calls. So what can you see at this picture right now? How could you, like, what do you think of it? Let me ask it this way.
Hunting? Hunting?
What is it? Hunting? Yes, hunting. That's right. The picture kind of describes the way how people hunting. And if you want to take a look from the IT perspective, this is some sort of the knowledge people wanted to kind of print. So since the humanity was able to think, to absorb, to gather some knowledge, some information, they wanted to save it somewhere, like to print on the wall, print on the book, maybe make a picture, portrait, whatever is that would be. And this gives me an idea of three fundamental things about the information, because this knowledge is the information, or how it can be called in IT is data of, and this information can be can be done three actions about this information. First, it can be processed. So people got an idea that there is some process, some like hunting or something else, maybe crafting some tool, and they kind of process this information. Second thing, let me actually go to the slides. First, let me go from the vice versa, the store. So they know how to store this knowledge and information. And any information should be stored somehow and somewhere. In the very initial state, it was stored on the side of the wall. Second thing we can do about any information, we can process it. So we can receive some information from somebody, think about it, process in our mind, in our brain, and maybe come to some conclusion. And the third thing what we can do about any information, about any data, is exchange with somebody else. In this picture, it's a very slight examples how people absorb some, gather some information about how they want to hunt animals, and they want to store this information and share with somebody else. In nowadays, processing information, like computer technology, help us to do the exactly same thing. Anything we're going to be learned next about the IT is exactly what we just see in the previous slide. Is how we go and store information, how we're going to process this information, and how we're going to share it between different people, different server, computers, or resources. All right. So this is a computer which probably everybody already has, maybe even more than one. Any iPhone, laptop, desktop, TV, or maybe even PlayStation. It's a simple computer. And each computer has few sources of storage the data. It's a hard drive, random access memory, and cloud. But cloud, it's a storage of it's a third-party resources where we can store our data or our information at somebody else's computer. But cloud, it's some sort of kind of questionary source of storage. Okay, maybe I can open another window. Or actually, let's keep going. Process information, process any data is being done with a CPU, and each computer has a processor. It's a special chip placed in the motherboard, or actually, yeah, in the motherboard, which has the access to memory, to store the memory, and has access to other devices, and it allows us to kind of process and move data from one resource to another one. And exchanging the data in computer world comes through the internet cable, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, other ports, like maybe some other sources of, let's say, your keyboard. It's a source of input the data to your computer. And my web camera, you can see me right now, is another source of data. Like, it's another port. With the help of this camera, of this port, my processor can get my picture of me in bytes, or maybe in some symbols, understandable to computer, and process the information about me and share it to other port to send this data to you. I mean, to server, and from server to you. So these all three things we are going to take a look further now. Have you ever heard about abstraction? Who can tell me what abstraction means? If you can give me some explanation. This question, by the way, was during one of my interview.
No, I have never heard of that.
Okay. Well, abstraction, it's very important and commonly used approach or maybe technique. And I think how we can treat our technologies. Let me bring you some allegory, or is a metaphor or whatever. Let's say you have a task to wash your clothes and you go to laundry. And going to laundry, you probably need to take the bag with your clothes and put everything in the open the machine, throw everything in the machine, click the button start, maybe put some like detergent soap in the machine, and after maybe like 30 or 40 minutes, take your clean stuff, clean things, and maybe go to the dryer. So doing this procedure, you kind of operate the process of washing your clothes, but you don't have to know how exactly it is working inside. You don't know how this drum is spinning inside, or you don't know how water comes from outside into your machine and mixes with the soap and starts washing your clothes. But what you exactly know about this process, that you use this machine, you open, you use it, and then you when it's done, you take your clothes. This is a higher level of abstraction. And going to a lower level of abstraction, you probably would need to know how electricity works, or how chemical works, or how this machine was built and stuff like that. So as lower you want to go, as more details you should know about this process. As higher level of abstraction you are on, as less small minor details you need to know about some specific process. Well, how is it related to our topic in programming? Then on a very low level, our computers use a language, or it's been called machinery, binary code, or machine code. And this is a very primitive way how machine work and talk to each other. And in this binary code, all data is being processed on a processor level. Second, let me actually open another browser. Yep. For simplicity, I just want to take a look at this card. This is a very interesting thing from, I would say, from past, from a long time ago. Copy English address. Maybe we can see it here. This is being called perfo card. And this perfo card, I think it's some sort of binary code or what? It actually has a numeric expression, but in general, if you can see these kind of dots or like holes and the whole paper, so it's kind of represents for some structure of memory. So binary code is some representation of data from where 0 where exist only two values, 0 and 1. 0 stands for, I think, stands for non-value, and 1 probably in this case could be represented as some value or some made perforated hole in this document. This card actually actual card or piece of memory from the computer in industrial period, maybe like 20 years ago or something. So people were using it to store some data and then load back this data to the computer. So this is actually legit and proper thing from the past. Likely we don't use this kind of format anymore in present time, but on a higher level, we must know that a very primitive data in our computer is binary code, which we not gonna be learn too much today. The second level of abstraction, I would mention assembler. Assembler is a language which already uses some characters and some keywords, but it's still not human friendly. Assembler. Let me open example of. Well, we can see this specific picture. It's kind of something understandable. At the same time, it's something weird with some hashes, some code which we don't really like how it goes. In the end, we can see probably hello world. It's some expression we would like to print in our computer. And this is a second level of abstraction. We have to know that it exists. We have to keep in mind that it exists, but we're not gonna be using it later on in our practice, unless if you want to and you're super curious. But I don't think it's a very popular language nowadays. It's still used. It's still some people use it, but not that often as JavaScript or Python, or maybe some C or C++. Okay. Next level of abstraction is a C language. It's first, I would say, human-friendly language where we where we can use some understandable keywords to our computer, something like print, or print, declare some, store some value. And C, it's I would say probably one of the first popular languages, and JavaScript is being called C-style language because syntax of JavaScript and syntax of C and Java, they are similar. And we're gonna cover it a little bit later. And next level of abstraction is other languages like Python, JavaScript, I don't know, Pascal, anybody knows that, maybe Java. Java or some Kotlin, whatever language you can mention. Any other languages above C, like they consider to be higher languages. But actually, this scale can be like very subjective. Some people can say C is higher level. Some people say C is lower level. But in our particular example, we're going to be above C. We're not going to be using C in our programs. So JavaScript is going to be further our topic, and we're going to deep into this language. Let's draw some diagram. Actually, I already did it for you. And at this diagram, I would like to talk about something we already seen before. Actually, not that much. Before 1991, when the HTML was before HTML was invented, the computer still existed, and they were able to process data, exchange data, and store some data. And in this specific example, before HTML, computer could communicate to each other through network requests. And this is a very abstractive and high-level diagram or schema. Let's say this is your computer, and we send in a request through network to some other computer. Let's say this could be a meteo station or some resource where they measure temperature or they measure some weather. So we can technically, the computer of user can send a request to the server, and with a request of some what's going on outside or how weather it looks like. And the server is just another computer which accept or can see the accept the request, process and understand what's going on, what the user wants to hear from the server, does some calculation in this block, and then in the end it returns and sends back some data like okay, it's just a text data. And it could be able, it's just like example, it shouldn't look exactly like that, but let's say it sends back some text and say, okay, temperature is 22 degrees, no rain, wind is medium, end of message. That was a very basic and primitive way of communicating and exchanging the data between two computers. After HTML was invented, and finally the technology was improved a little bit more. The process of exchanging data was a little bit more complex and at the same time advanced. Right now, what we were using when we were using our HTML code and how data exchange looks like now, right now, let's say we send a request to temperature.com. It's some resource where our server is located or reachable. And we send, let's say, primitive request. This request may have additional configuration, but the request itself could be already a request, like a request to the main, like a source address. And the server has application. I mean, we start the request with our browser. As you can see in this page, we have a address bar where we type in our source request source, and our browser app is going to send the request to the server. And at this time, server has another app. It's another computer like mine or yours, designed to receive and receive the request from outside. Server thinks, okay, we receive a temperature request and we have to do some calculation. Maybe it's going to do some logic to find out what is the temperature. Maybe it's going to take from the database of some resources where the temperature already was measured and stored. Let's say they measure it once an hour and share this data to any request. After they process, they use the same server application to send our data. But at this time, the data is being sent in format of HTML. And this is something we already have seen. And when this document lands to our browser application, it comes exactly to this app. I'm shaking. I don't know if you can see it, it's shaking or not. Yeah, as soon as it lands to our browser, it's been printed in approximately this format. So this is a document. I'm sharing with you. And yeah, this is exactly how it would look like. And of course, further with technology improvement and being more advanced, engineers were able to add some styles, add some advanced logic to HTML document, and that's why our documents look more nicer and more friendly for us. But in the beginning, it were looking something like that. It's a very like basic web page in HTML, as you can see. And in 2005, I didn't draw a diagram. I don't remember the name of the guy who invented a JavaScript. And the guy just said, okay, we're sending HTML, we're sending CSS file, but maybe we want to send something to the computer to make this computer run some logic. And for that purposes, JavaScript was invented and used. It was probably about 2005, if I'm not mistaken. And how it actually looked like, they added two text HTML tag into the document, which are being called script. And here in this field, all the magic of JavaScript could be happen. Do you have any questions so far before we keep going? Because I'm just talking a lot and maybe you need some more details about something.
No
Okay.
question.
Looks like we don't have questions. And this is okay. Yep. We can close it. Yeah, let's take a look at our file inside, and we can, this script I already added, but I want to remove this file and open our VS Code back again. Okay, here we can make in this document, as soon as we run the whole document, we are going to execute this logic in between this script tag. And for that purpose, how that works actually, anything between here is going to give our computer to execute some logic step by step. Let's say we can declare some values. We can say, okay, number, we can declare let number 1 is equal to 2, and let number, actually number A and number B is equal to 6. We can use, and we can say, okay, let sum is equal to number A plus number B. And this is some sort of JavaScript code or computing logic we can use inside of our document. And now we want to see how we're going to. There wasn't any function in this file.
What I mean is, was there Like they were using the internet with the HTML only, like everything was happening in the backend, or like it's getting the response from the server. I mean, was that just only UI part they were using and sending the response from the server, or everything is happening in the web browser?
Everything happens in the web browser. When it comes to the document, so they kind of send us the document, and this document is being printed to us in the UI, so in our browser, and it sends us HTML part, it sends us CSS and JavaScript files, and all of this data stored in our browser is being stored on our client side.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, here in this script, we can see we declared it's been called variable number A and number B, and the sum is 3 is a variable. And in the end of this execution and calculation, I would like to make a small magic. Let's use the function alert. Alert, it's a keyword in JavaScript which go on to send some action to our browser. You already know this. It's going to have us pop up message with some message. And let's say let's send this number sum. Okay, we're going to save this file, and I'm going to try to open it. This is my file, and while attempting to open it, we can see the number. This page says number 8. Okay, and this is the magic of JavaScript in our browser at the very beginning. Let me open our presentation. As we already spoke before, Java is more backend language, and some of you already know its syntax or how it looks like. And JavaScript, I think, looks a little bit kind of Java, but it's completely different language and used in completely different environment. Java code cannot be used in browser, and JavaScript is a programming language. Why it's been called actually JavaScript? Why do we have a script keyword in the end of Java? Because script means this language was designed and invented to do some cryptic actions, to do some and it should be implemented in any environment. The JavaScript may be implemented in environment of browser Chrome. JavaScript can be implemented in environment of Mozilla Firefox. And actually, there is another environment. It's been called Node.js. This is backend technology. JavaScript as a cryptic language can be used in another environment. So that's why it's been called crypt. It's a cryptic language in difference to Java. And we already seen this process flow between server and client before. I think we shouldn't stop too much on that. JavaScript works with HTML and CSS, of course, because it is JavaScript. It is a third kind of column in basic in our development of front-end development, especially web development. Let me move it to cycle. Here we have our CSS file, which we import to our head style, not style, link.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
Why do QA testers use Java and front-end developers use JavaScript usually?
Testing does not restrict to any specific language. Testing, I cannot tell you why testers decided to choose Java for testing, but I can tell you that testing can be done in JavaScript as well, such a library as Cypress.
Yeah, we can use JavaScript as a Cypress, Java with Selenium. Even the Python right now they're using for their testers. We don't have like Java. We are using like all three languages, like even like C# as well.
Mm-hmm. So technically, language doesn't matter. Not gonna make a big difference for testing or some process. So language is being chosen for some specific needs, but any language can implement any logic, even Python, JavaScript, Java, or Kotlin can be used for testing. So it's just up to developers. It just happened this way. So developers choose and create a Cucumber. It's a tool for testing, right? It's Selenium, right? Cypress in JS. It's a JavaScript library, Cypress JS library. Or it can be tool. I actually was learning this. This is Cypress JavaScript. And in Python, we PyTest library to make testing in Python, and in Java, Selenium. Yep. All of those three resources you can stop by and look at each details, but nowadays Selenium library gets more popular for testing front end and UI parts. But Selenium has a very nice set of tools and still being used. Hopefully I answered your question.
Yes, thank you. We can carry on with the class.
Yeah. And let me take a look and open our script. Well, here in the body, in the head, we have a reference to our style sheet, or actually we can make styles in the document. Same thing, we can use script and create a file JavaScript. Say script.js. And here we need to reference to our script.js. And this is going to substitute all the previous syntax I was using, where we were using script between the script tags. Well, this is actually a more convenient way to use JavaScript in our documents. And all these three files are going to be major files for our application. So from now, let's call our project application, because we're going to apply 3 different tools and apply some logic in it. And in this JavaScript file, we can access styles. We can access each of these elements and substitute maybe the content of this paragraph of the document, or do some other actions. We can calculate and count and substitute, or do any other similar actions. JavaScript let us to reuse the code, and this is actually true. Remember, we were doing the project, and let's say we were doing some products. Let's say we have div, and inside the div we might have some like divs with product, div that product times 5 or maybe 8. And each time we had manually create this element product. And here we say apple, and here we add orange and stuff like that. Using JavaScript, we don't need anymore to type it manually, and we can use reusable functions and redo our logic. Let's say our function or script to append a product. Well, we can reuse this script, reuse it n times. This is this ability gives us ability to reuse our code. Is one of the advantages using JavaScript in our project. And so I was telling you, yeah, it was invented in 1995, not 2005. I'm sorry, that was my mistake. Yeah, a little bit of history of JavaScript. Since it was invented in 1995, it evolutioneered. It was like updated to the latest, one of the most popular version, ES5, and right now it stands for ECMAScript standard. It's kind of standard of JavaScript. It's more used and common popular standard. We shouldn't be too much worried about that, because we're going to be using the latest version of JavaScript every time, because it's more up to date and more perform like faster and more up like with a higher performance. A client-side processing language, as I already mentioned, to prove to give you more approval of client-side JavaScript functionality. Let me open our web page or web application, to say. And opening inspector, we can see our script, but at the same time, we can come to the console tab. And in this console tab, we are given an opportunity to run JavaScript code as we did it before. Let's say let number C is equal to 5, and let number CD is equal to 10, and say let sum equal to number C. Oh, it doesn't like me to copy paste. Okay, and let's type alert sum. Oh, alert was declared. Okay, let's sum x. And we can see our script was implemented again, and we did all action, all implementation from the client side. I'm a client right now at this point, and anything what happens to our file in our document, the same thing kind of can be done with JavaScript in our browser, in our browser developer tools. Okay. Interfaces with HTML and CSS. I think we can come to this topic a little bit later down our course. I just it lets us build dynamic pages and response to input from users. Yep, this is exactly why it was developed. Let me demonstrate some of this. Looks like I deleted this file. For the actions, let's say we might have a button in our document. Let's say a button. And on click, we might have some action. Let's say function click button. Click button. This is some sort of code which we may implement in our script. And here, let's add a script and say function with the keyword of click button. And in this button, we want to implement already familiar to us logic, alert, with the keyword button was click. All right, let's try to take a look at our, we didn't have a button keyword. Button click me. Okay, doesn't do any action so far. It's probably due to nice. Yep. There you go. I just lost some syntax. Clicking the button is giving us leads us to the same action. So it's some sort of user interaction. So with JavaScript, we can, of course, we're not going to be calling alerts. Alerts are being here just for simplicity. But in JavaScript, we're going to do more complex actions like store data, calculate number of clicks, maybe send a request to the server or do some other kind of actions related to user like experience, user interactions, and even much more. Do you have any questions so far before we go to break? Okay, since we don't have any questions, let's take a 10 minutes break and come back after that time. Okay, I hope you had a nice break and we can get continued. The last example, we just built up a tiny small functionality with user interaction. Let's keep going to the next slide. And at this particular example, the author gives us like author of the presentation shows us that we can click on click as we did alert, as we called. We can trigger the engine image change or substitute, so we can kind of open and click different images. It's one of the things we can do. Another thing that we can do, apply searching functionality. Searching, actually, it's one of the most used functionalities for programming languages. How to search and filter different elements by keywords. And let's say you're looking on the website for some product, how to do so. Even Googling, Google, I don't think Google uses JavaScript for searching, but yeah, in Google we search for different things, and searching at the web page, I think at this example, it gives us an opportunity to render all this variation of our search with the JavaScript. JavaScript allows us to have this component or element to be expanded and then to manipulate the value inside of these each elements. I think it should be UI, right? Let me take a look. You unordered list, probably no. This is span. This is div. This is div, and this is div. List. Yeah, this is list element li, and on top of it, it's probably going to be unordered list. Yeah, UL. Semantic in action. Yeah, each of these variation. But the content of each of these unordered list is being manipulated with the help of JavaScript as well. Timer for. Yeah. So the technical JavaScript tracks our input value, and every time we update the value, it's going to do some actions, or not going to do if not needed. What web page is this? Yeah, one of these things we're going to cover later on is to render and maybe pre-render on do some JavaScript actions on hover. You remember we were using hover on changing a background of the element. Where is my VS Code? Oh, there you go. Probably not going to be using the printed right now, but on the hover, not only style change can be applied on the hover or on the click, but actually on hover we can expand some menu, drop down menu, or run some different JavaScript UI actions with the help of JavaScript also. This is a drawing tool. I'm not sure exactly how it's been written. It's probably some sort of complex JavaScript applications with some huge library, and probably this particularly this example or this element of UI was being done not in 1 hour or in 1 day, as I think people were working on that. But technically, 3JS, let me introduce you to 3JS library. 3JS. If we 3JS. 3JS with the car. Yeah, this is I might copy a link or maybe open this video. This is a web page where they invented a UI and the car just running on the web page, and you can choose some sort of actions on the web page and kind of play on the website. It's been done with JavaScript with a library called 3JS. If you can see here, you can go to About Us section if you drive, or just travel around the web page. This is kind of some sort of unusual. Probably in game development, it could be a cool feature. Personally, myself, I think React library is more important than 3JS, but this is ability of JavaScript language. One of them. Script tags, we already covered it. And we already know how to use JavaScript file in our project. Let's develop it. Take inside the page called index.html, and let's write this code. We already did it. Okay, we just did part of this assignment. And another thing I would like you to show you is a console object. Console, we already seen in our developer tools. Console is a second tab from the left, where we can write some JavaScript code. Let's say alert hi. But the same thing can on the console, it's something where we can output our information. Let's say instead of printing on the UI in the browser, I want to say console.log and say hi in console. And here we're going to see this message in the console tool. This is actually one of the most important tools you're going to be using for debugging purposes and tracking your application to see how, if you got the data, how the data looks like, and more. And let's access this particular one console from our application. Yep. Here in our function, click button, we're using alert, but let's delete this alert and let's type console.log and hi from button in VS Code. Need to reload this page. And now you can see that clicking on the button, I'm going to print this message in the console instead of this UI message or alert message. Okay. Okay, next section is about the JavaScript execution as the programming languages. So right now and before now, we were looking at JavaScript as the part of UI or part of the code, part of the project in our browser. Actually, we can execute and use JavaScript separately from browser and use it like a regular programming language. Let's create a Replit. I would recommend you to register, create account on replit.com. I'm going to share a link in the chat. Feel free to join. And we're going to create first, our Replit is being called, we're not going to give it any name, it's up to us, but we need to create a Node.js project. Create Replit, yep. And there is a list of languages we can use to practice. And let's choose Node.js, of course. Let's give it a title, like my first JS. Okay, here we have a chance to practice our JavaScript knowledge and write our JavaScript code. And it's going to work almost the same way like it works in our browser. The difference is that in browser, we have access to some UI elements. Here on this page, we are working basically with our like internal resources. Whatever data we use, with this data we're going to process. So we're not going to be able to make a request here because it's kind of encapsulated environment. We're going to be talking about requests later in our bootcamp because it's kind of advanced topic for now. But since we're going through basics, it's going to be more than enough for us, especially for fundamental and basics things about JavaScript. For the beginning, I would like you to introduce to to variables. Variable, it's part of data what you can store during your runtime or in your code. You already seen keyword let and now number a, and we assign some value to this variable. So what is going on right now, right here? Right now, we're just preparing our code in the code base and giving saying or typing let number a is equal to 5, we're just going to say to our computer, okay, this is our script. When we run our script, we're going to execute it. And with the let number a, we say to our processor, we give it command to store in memory some data. And the data is number 5. And second, we can say, okay, let number b is equal to 10. In this line of code, we give our on the runtime. See, nothing is happening, but we say, okay, when we run, we allocate 2 spaces in memory and store number 5 and number 10. Later, we can access these values. Let's say, as we already did before, number a plus number b. And this is probably going to be our let sum equal to number 8 plus number b. This is a very simple and primitive calculation. At this point, we create a third variable, and in previous examples, we were assigning like already ready data to it. In this example, we say, okay, anything which stays on the right side of the equal sign should be calculated. Let's show the anything on the right side of equal sign should be calculated or processed and assigned the result value to the variable with the name of sum. Okay, and on the let me clean the drawing. When our computer goes to the line number 5, it calculates and assigns. At this point, we can use a console.log, and we can print our sum in the console log. So this is how it works. And every time we click the run button, the processor or the computer is going to implement and execute each code from line 1 to line 7, one by one. If we have an empty line, it's not a problem. We can have as many empty lines as you want. It doesn't affect any execution of our program. It's going to run just fine as before. Okay. Looks like we can calculate. The second type of data I would like to introduce you to is that was a number. The second data type I would like to introduce, it's a Boolean. Let is a day equal to true. And let's say let is night equal to false. Well, this is a type of data true or false. This is just can be in only two conditions. Let's say the variable might have just true or false state in this case. And printing it in the console is going to print us absolutely the same output as we see here. Yeah, do you have any questions so far? Looks like I spoke too much.
About the variables is you in your job you guys don't anymore using the var, right? Var.
Var.
Nobody using anymore, right?
No, it's an old style. It's ECMA 5. Var in GS.
I know it's similar like a LED, but it's also have a little bit like change it difference. But I'm not sure which difference.
Yeah. From ES ECMA 6, ECMAScript 5, variable still works, but it was not deprecated and still in use. But this is a certain behavior. We're not going to cover it right now since we haven't covered functions yet. But var still apply. We can say, okay, let's replace to var and command V.
No, just what's the question in your job? You guys don't use it anymore?
No, var. It's less. It's not used that much anymore.
Just let and const, right?
Sorry, again.
Just let and const, right?
Yeah, let and const. Okay. Okay. Let's take a look at another variable called const. Const number C is equal to 7. And technically, it is the same technique to declare some variable and store some data in our memory. But this time, we use a keyword const, which gives us assurance that this is constanta or constant value. and this is not going to be reassigned. Because here, later, let me shorten my code. We can say, okay, let's variable 5a, we can say console log. Log. Number a, and now we can reassign our variable. Let's say a variable a is equal to 15. 15, and we want to print our variable number a. Let's comment this out. And now we see, okay, first time we printed when it's equal to 5. Second time we printed when it's equal to 15. And this is a proper kind of behavior. When we use const, we are not able to do so. Let's say at this line number c equal to 25. And let's try to console log number c and console log it again. All right. we were doing good so far. We come to this point. We assigned it, we printed, we reassigned value to 15, we print it again to 15. Everything was good at this point at 7. But here, when our processor goes to the line number 9, we faced some issues because variable number c is not reassignable, and we are not able to change the value of it. So that's why we see the error, type error. And it's telling us, actually, assignment to constant variable, which is prohibited. So that's why if you want to reassign the value of this variable, we want to use it as let, and everything is going to be just fine. Or if you want to use as const, we should not reassign it, never. Well, after you have this equal sign, after you have the const keyword, the number c with equal signs it shouldn't happen anymore in this particular JavaScript file. Okay. How does JavaScript work? You visit a website with JavaScript code in it. Your browser reads the code line by line. The browser runs each line of code as it reads it. Based on this instruction, the JavaScript browser performs calculation. Okay. Let me run a little trick. This code doesn't understand, it stops running. Okay. One tricky thing about the JavaScript execution. Here at this page, at this document, we have body with the h1, h3, some script, and some button. Where is it? Yep. Let's add a keyword. Let's add a script actually between script tag between h1 and h3. Okay, and let's add a console log function to see hi from between from hi after h1. Yep, and when we reload the document, we see hi after h1, and everything looks good, and probably the button still works good. But when we want to add here alert keyword, alert, yep, and there you go. Now we can see a very interesting behavior of our page. This time we have our message, and actually alert message is going to stop execution at this line of code. So technically we printed, or let's say we rendered h1 tag, which is appeared here. Then we came to the script and we run the script of alert. And at this point, alert is going to stop all further execution below until the time we are going to click the button. When we click the button OK, we're going to keep going further after this script. Maybe if we have some extra logic, let's say console log. Let's call it after alert. Yep. We're going to do the rest of the execution. Well, alert, and after alert, we done everything. We can emulate this behavior to any bogus JavaScript code. Let's say we have a typo and we have, instead of alert, we use something non-existent. Let's try to break our application. Yep, and it's kind of renders safely, and it doesn't run. But in our tool, we are seeing the error message that alert, the bogus name of function, doesn't exist or is not defined in our script. Same thing, JavaScript can be responsible to some functionality, let's say products. This line of code gets data and renders on the page. Let's say we have some special function which sends the request to the server. And if we do something wrong with this function, let's call it request data. And if it goes bad, so probably we're not going to be able to see the data, or data is not going to update. But actually, HTML code is okay with that. It been called exception blocks. Let's go back to our presentation. Console log, we already covered that. Let's develop it. We already developed a lot. Okay, now we come to the variables. Let's keep going. With variables and data types. Naming variables. In JavaScript, we use a naming called snake, a camel case. A camel case is just looks like a camel with two humps. Hopefully they call it humps, right? And the name of the variable is starts with a lowercase, my first, and then every second or every following word should start with uppercase letter, and keep going with the lowercase. My first name is equal to, this is a camel case. Oops, not right. Camel case. In other languages like Python or Ruby, I think maybe C or C#, they use a snake case. Let's say my name would look like my first name equal to so this is a snake case, and this is not used, just for your information. This is not being used in JavaScript project. So camel case is the mostly used and accepted way to declare your variables. But actually, in some projects may be exceptions. Sometimes they may use some variables with a snake case and all upper letters. Let's say base URL, something like that. It can be called with a snake case, but later you're gonna see something like that. You might see in the project. But all the time use a camel case. It's the most working naming and convenient way to name your variable. Variable names need to start with letter S. I think it's a typo. Reserved words. Avoid reserved words. Yeah, this is another important thing in not only in JavaScript language, but any other programming language. There are some specific keywords. Let's say we used alert, right? Alert high, alert high, and around alert is not available here. But this is okay. Alert is a function in the browser. This is actually the first difference between this environment and JavaScript and the project in the browser, because here we can access alert, and in this environment we just write the pure code, and alert it's more browser feature. But anyways, it's not a good practice to call the variable like alert, or call variable const let, or let's say const, call it a number equal to, let's say 3. Actually, number is okay. I think this number is going to give us some problems. Actually, there are a number of reserved keywords in JavaScript. Let's try to Google it. GS. But later, when you work with JavaScript more, you're gonna notice them a lot. Some keywords like return, maybe class, instance of. These keywords been used to operate JavaScript, and you cannot use it for renaming your variables. Like, let's say const return equal to 3. Yep. And right away, our compiler gives us we cannot use return, syntax error, cannot use this reserved keyword. Choose clarity and meaning for humans to read later. This is one of the most important topics in programming. Naming with a convention and convenient and understandable name. Personally, myself at work, I face these problems quite often. Sometimes I have to read the code which was written by someone. And when you read the code, reading the code from someone is kind of challenging, because you need to follow the thought, how the developer was looking to invent some feature, and it's kind of hard. And when the code uses not understandable naming, it makes it even more harder. Let's say we have simple script to calculate this area of the square. Say let's a is equal to 2. Let b equal to 5. Let sum equal to a multiplied by b. It's a simple mathematical operation, and this looks okay. And sum, not sum, square, right? Square. This looks okay, but when you come to the point when you open the file with hundreds of lines of code, this naming becomes a nightmare, because you're trying to understand, okay, what is this coming from? Because if you have 100 lines of code, you might not be able to track it. And okay, it's B, you need to scroll up and see, okay, it comes from here, it means that thing. But in this case, a good way to represent this variable would be length and width. This is a better and more appropriate way to name variables. They should be understandable. Even more, better way would be, for example, length, or let's say a rectangle length, and call it this variable rectangle width. This is even more appropriate way, and this is very self-explanatory. So looking at this variable, you understand what's going on and why it is going this way. Oh, not A and not B. Any questions so far about the information we just covered?
Yeah, you put the name rectangle length, but we also have the type of to see the, for example, the counting of the word is also length. Can we put the name length and the dot length is gonna be like that? Like for the naming.
For
Yeah,
the
it's
naming?
gonna get confused, maybe.
Yeah, can we put the like you put the length? So if you want to see the counting, how many like I don't know, words, something.
Like that?
Yeah, and if we wanna see if it's gonna be word there, like a full word, and then we wanna see the length of it. Can we? Is gonna be length. I'm just saying, is it a good idea to put a length on the name of variable?
Yeah, it's gonna.
It's not bad idea. Yeah, I understand what you mean. For example, we have a some word equal to A, B, C, and then you can say some word dot length, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a method which applied to this class or to this instance. So with the dot, you can see it's not a bad thing to use it like that, because you then put a dot and you're not allowed to put a dot between somewhere in between of the name, but it shouldn't be a big deal. It's just as an example of the variable should be descriptive. The name of the variable should be kind of understandable what's going on. But length, I don't see anything bad about it. I would use it.
Okay. I'm just saying it's not something wrong to put the length and then in the future length. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. Probably it's not. Later on, you with experience, you're gonna notice and learn more about naming. But if you keep in mind that it should explain, the name of the variable should explain what it's supposed to do, you're gonna be fine. Okay, let's go to to use a variable. We already used it. And now at this slide, we are facing a couple of different data types. And this data types is being called a string, number, which we already covered, Boolean, I briefly introduced you to, undefined, and null. We're gonna take a look at each of them after the break. Before we take a break, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. Okay, the last section is going to be a little bit more intense. It will go on to cover the rest of our topics for today. It's a type of variables and how we operate with them. Well, for simplicity, let me create a little script about some person. Along the way, I'm going to show you some techniques related to JavaScript. Let's say we have a person called with the name of const first name equal to John. This is a type of string. There is a double slash sign, which is going to comment out the text, right? The text is commented out. Anything on the right side of this double slash signs is going to comment it out. So it's not a bad thing to add some comments to the code after these two slashes. If you wanted to comment out the whole line, you can just click Control or Option and slash Control. More on the Mac, it should be Command, I think. Where's my Mac? It's far away. And uncomment the whole line. Well, here we created a string type variable. And the variable holds a list or set of characters. So each characters character char, let's say character is like J. It is considered as a string in JavaScript as well, and they are kind of equal by type. This and that one. So technically, what we can do with these types, we can print it, we can pass it, we can store it, and do some other actions with that. We can even have a number 1, 2, 3 in format of string. In this case, it's been considered as a text or string. Second data type is a number. Let age is equal to 25. This is an integer type of number. Integer is some sort of whole digits or like whole numbers, but also a number can be in decimals or floating point numbers. Let's say weight. Let equal to 74.5. So this is also a number, but it's a floating point number. So anything with after the dot is called a floating point number. So this, but they are belong to the same data type as numbers. Let's get another data type to see. Let's marriage status. Hopefully I spelled it right. Actually, let's do it other way. Is married or is single? Is single, let's say true. True, and let's has house, say false. I think it better would be vice versa, right? But this is a sort of data type we can apply to this person. Another data type we can do is null. Let's say let information about car. What kind of car he has? And here we can say null. Null is some sort of a special data type in programming, which means there is something, but there is not anything. Like it's a very empty and very lightweight data type, meaning that there is nothing else. So technically, the variable is assigned. There is some memory allocated to this variable, but the weight of this variable is very light and almost nothing. Null in other languages also treated like end of file or end of memory, like end of set. But in particular, this case, it's been used quite often with data transferring. Let's say when we transfer data to like from computer to another computer between applications, we can use this data type quite often, because in other case it could be, let's say, some string, let's say not car, like Audi, and here we can comment out or null. Null means no information. Okay, let's call it Boolean. No value. No. At all. And another data type is let another data type we can call it undefined. Bank account. Bank account is equal to undefined. Undefined is a data type when we want to have this variable or some sort of information, but we're not sure what is going to be. It's not empty and it doesn't store any memory. It doesn't hold any space in memory, but it's just said, okay, variable bank account exists, but the value doesn't exist and probably going to be provided later or not. Let's say we can even say let comment. This is the kind of similar syntax. Sometimes it's not accepted in some projects with a configuration, but that means kind of the same. The variable exists and the value of variable might be assigned, maybe not. Well, so this is a short description of each data type we are going to use in our projects. And that was a primitive data type. Also, there are some objects and arrays exist in the, but we're going to cover them later. I think it's not a topic of today's class. For later. So this is kind of two different sort of variables, primitive and objects and arrays. It's kind of complex, and they have some difference. And it's actually not a big deal. We're going to learn it for sure. Let's go to another topic, operators. And in programming, we're going to cover and use some sort of operators. First, and very simple, it's a mathematical operators. Mathematical operators do simple mathematical or arithmetical things like sum, divide. Okay, it's probably better to mention them here, like plus, minus, divide, and multiply. These are 4 mathematical operators. Also, we have another mathematical operator called modulo. It's a percent. Let's actually do a couple of tricks with them. I want to have some result, const result, equal to some mathematical operation. Let's say 2 divide by, or 3 divide by 2. And let's say, let's console.log result. Oops. Yep, 1.5. We have a floating number. And anything with another mathematical operator would works, as you know, it's very basic. Modulo operator is going to give us a reminder. Let's say if we divide 2 from 3, we're going to have a reminder. Modulo returns a reminder. And let's say if we run, let's say 10 and 7, the reminder is going to be 3. Yep, 3. Interesting thing is that if the, let's say, the divider is going to be less than initial number, let's say you want to say here 4. So return is going to be 2. How is that happening? So modulo is going to take 4 from 10 as many times as when the 10 is not going to be less than 4. Let's say first time 10 minus 4 is equal to 6. Okay, then we 6 we take 4 from 6, and it comes to 2, right? When it comes to number 2, we do not subtract any more and return this value. So that's why here it's 2. This is one mathematical operator which is sort of unusual. Do you have any questions about mathematical operators? All right. Let's go with logical operators. Actually, mathematical operators go to work with strings as well. Let's say, let's comment this out. Sum equal to, let's take one string first name. We already have first name. Let's create a string last name. Actually, we have a last name. Oh, we don't have a last name. Sorry. We have a char. Say D. We can say string sum. String summary should be first name plus some space. This is considered as a string as well, even if we have just a space. And let's say plus char. Okay. And let's call it full name. Full name. And if we console that log, full name, we are going to see John D. This is a mathematical operator which works with string, and it concatenates or kind of joins two variables into one word. It's a tricky and nasty thing. Some people hate JavaScript because of that you can summarize strings and numbers. Let's say, actually, we can do some actions right inside of console log. Let's say console log, and we can say 1 plus 2. Yeah, we do calculation here. We can say, okay, A, B, C plus D, F calculation. And actually, we can say ABC plus 1, 2, 3 is going to concatenate and turn everything into string or into the text. All right. Do you have any questions so far? Good. Let's go with logical operators. Operators. Logical operators, they produce a Boolean value. Remember, we have single. This is could be another representation of our John, of our user. Let's say we might have some criteria. Const is older, is adult, is adult. Is adult is actually a Boolean value because the person can be neither adult or not adult. So if he is adult, it could be true. Otherwise, it should be false. If, let's say, younger than 18 years old. For that purpose, we can find out if our John is 25 years old. We can say, okay, if is adult value if the John age is greater than 18. Okay, console. And let's find out if he adult. Okay, let me use the second console log. Is John adult? And run the code. Yeah, true. John is adult because the operator, logical operator, returns us, produce us a Boolean value which is true. And there are some other logical operators we can mention. It's a greater or greater or equal. It's a comparison by value, by integer value or by number value. Greater or equal. Oh my God. God damn it, are you gonna switch? Next operator is vice versa. It's less or smaller, less or equal. We can say, okay, is teenager, but I think we shouldn't compare that. And third operator is equal. In JavaScript, we have two comparison equal operators. It's a double equal sign, and or triple equal sign. And this comparison operator is going to compare the value by the left and the right side of this operator and find out if it's true or false. Let's say result. No comparison. Let's use another one. Is equal, and let's say 1, 2, 3 is equal to 1, 2, 3. Of course, is equal is going to give us true. Let's compare 1, 2, 3 to 1, 2, 4. Is going to give us false. But let's compare 1, 2, 3 as number to 1, 2, 3 as a string. Do you have any idea what we are going to see here? Any suggestions?
It's gonna be false.
False?
Yeah, because
Oh no, it's true. It's true because JavaScript is a magic. That's why some people hate it, because when we compare with the double equal sign, we compare by value, but not by type, because this is a type of number, and this 1, 2, 3 is a string. When we use double sign, it ignores the data type and gives us. But if we use triple equal sign, in this scope, we're going to see false. Yep. For that purpose, let's take let's get familiar with another operator being called a type of.
Here I have a question.
Yep.
In your job, you guys doing the double, like if it's we already have like triples, anyone in what like situation you using double? If you have triple and you can equal anything, like all the, you know.
I would say double and triple. Triple is more used in projects because it's more strict comparison. Double can be used in rare cases. It's just in the context, but you're probably mostly going to be using the triple equal sign.
Oh yeah, the double one is like a not really used one, right? Because like if you want to equal something, like anytime you just put the triple.
Yeah, because double can be unpredictable sometimes, and this is a kind of inconvenience. You may have a bug, but it's going to be kind of hard to find because it's just a small typo or something. Sometimes it can be so better to use triple, especially when you're going to come to the TypeScript section, because we're going to use types, but triple equal sign, probably if you're thinking what to choose, use triple.
To make sure. Okay.
Yep. Okay, so because you compare it to 1 to 3 to 1 to 3, but let's say we want to compare to 0 digit to empty string. This is a string with no value. You think it's going to be true or false?
False.
False. But somehow it comes up, it's true, because in JavaScript, it converts different data types upon operation. If you use a triple equal sign, it's going to give a false, because they are different data types. Let's take a look at the type of operator. Type of operator. This operator is a very cool thing. Let's remove our equal sign and type of, and let's do some number. 1, 2, 3. Let's run it. This operator is going to give us a value of number. Let me clean it, because this is a number, and even if we do a floating number, it's going to give us a number as well, because it is a number. If we wrap it into quotation mark, it's going to give us a string. And same thing if we're going to say true, it's going to print us a boolean. Or we can say, okay, type of 1 equal to 2. Yep. It's going to give us a false, because we didn't wrap it into the equals. So right now it's giving us a boolean, because type of 1 equal to 2, it's a boolean value, because it's been produced by logical operator. So type of can be used sometimes to determine what type of data you get. especially if you get some data from, let's say, server, and before you want to print the data, you might want to check, let's say, okay, if the data is Boolean, or if the data is string, it's okay. If the number, so do some other actions. Okay. Oh, this is not logical. There was a comparison. Sorry, logical comparison. Logical operate, but they are kind of logic. Let's go to the section of logical operator. It might be some kind of challenging because we do not compare value anymore. And logical operators, they operate booleans between each other. Let's say I want to find out is, let's say, const okay to sell beer. It can be a boolean expression, right? Let's say true or false, true or false. But for this case, we have to consider two factors, right? To find out, is it okay to sell the beer? We should say age must be greater than 21, and time should be less than 11 o'clock. Let's just simplify it for now. Less than 11. Okay, we know the age, right? But the time, let's say, let time is equal to 10 or 10. And now to make us determine is it okay to sell the beer or not, we can say okay to sell is equal to age greater or equal 21 and double n sign time is less or less than 10. Less than, oh, sorry, 11, because we have time. And in this case, let me even wrap it into different parentheses. In this case, when we compute it and calculate, we come to the each condition and check if it's true or false. Let me see my drawer. So let me console it log. Okay, to sell the beer. You might want to write a UI for some liquor store, and you might want to use this logic for the future. So, okay, it is okay to sell the beer because the time is 10 o'clock. But if we say, okay, the time is 12 o'clock, 12 p.m., we are expecting to see the false, because it is not okay to sell the beer after 12 o'clock. Or let's say time is still fine, it's 9 p.m., but the John gets younger. Instead of 25, John now is 15 years old. And the same thing, we check even if the time is okay, John is not gonna get his six-pack because of our comparison operator is going to check both condition on the left and on the right part of it, and see if, first of all, he's going to check the left one and say, is it true? And if this condition is going to be true, after that, it's going to check this one. Oh, it's some face coming up, probably funny face of the child. And if it's true as well, if both are true, we are going to have our final condition, true or false. In this case, it was false. And this comparison operator is being called AND operator. Let me clear my drawings. Sorry, not comparison, it's logical. This is to compare to value. Both aside should be true. Next, we are going to have its OR operator, or two pipes. Okay, if we're done with selling beer. Let's think of some other condition. Let's say const in my wallet. Oh, let's say driver one, driver A is not driver A. Let's say we already have age, right? Let's say Maria. Maria age is equal to 29. Ken and John is 25. Oh, let's say John is 18. And let's say if they can rent a car, take a car for rent, and the car can be given to someone who is adult or at least 16 years old. And let's say if they're gonna to succeed or not, let's say const can rent. If they can rent, let's say age Maria age, let's say, for convenience, const Joe age. Let's say 12, even younger. And we want to compare, okay, if Maria age greater than or equal to 18, or John age is greater or equal to 18 or 16, I think 16. The driver license can be done from 16, but it's not a guarantee. And in this case, if any of these two guys is going to have a proper age, we're going to have true response. If both of them are going to be less than 16, let's say this one is going to be 10, then in the end we're going to face false. It was because none of them is greater than 16 years old. OR operator is going to take a look at the first and check this condition. if this condition is true, if it's positive, it's not going to check the second one. It's not going to happen. But if this condition is negative or false, it's mean, okay, is the comparison operator is going to see if the second okay. And if the second is false as well, it's going to return false. But if the second is true, so we're going to have a true condition. So how it works in real life. And this, I mean, in real programming. And this comparison operator may be more than one. We can say, we can say, okay, Maria is greater than 16, John is greater than 16, and or somebody else, let's say they have a third, somebody else, like a third friend, age is greater than 16. But we don't have this third friend. And this operator can be used a lot. Let's make it more simple. Let's say true and false. In this particular case, of course, false. True and false with this operator is going to give us true. But we can do true and false, and sometimes, not quite often, you might see something like that. But instead of true or false, it's going to be some condition. And true and false and true. And this is appropriate a legit expression and is going to give some value in the end. It is true if we replace any of them. Say this one. But it gets more complex. We don't want to overcomplicate things. Well, that was logical operators. Do you have guys any more questions about that? We just covered it. Concatenation. We already seen concatenation of strings and numbers. I think we kind of pretty much done with today's topic. And before we're done, let's take a look back at our project and just make some funny things with JavaScript. Let's say we have a function on let's delete this script. We have a function, we can actually move it down in the script. Okay, and in our function, we are going to have let counter. Let counter is equal to 0. And we now on click button, we execute this function. Let's reassign this value of our counter. Let's say counter is equal to counter value what we had before plus 1. In this line of code, we are going to reassign the value counter what we had before. We calculate it plus 1 and we reassign it to this value again. So in the first time it's going to be 0 plus 1 and we reassign it to the counter. And then we are going to print it to our console. Counter is equal to plus counter. Okay. And now we see each time we click on the on this button, we execute each time in our code, we reassign it and print it in our console log. To make it even more funny, let's do a document that append child document that create text node and let's use this value. Text node. Create text node document. We probably have to use it outside. Probably we don't see it. Create text node is not a function. Oh, it's not this function. Okay. Append child div and save text. Okay, parameter type of node. I need to read some documentation. Okay, let's take a look. Okay, then I wanted to overcomplicate things. But the idea with the button, on each click of the button, we can create a new paragraph. Let's say element equal to document create element h1 and with the content of counter. It is not gonna work right now. And document that append child. God damn it, why don't you want to? We don't have a text probably. But that's okay, it's magic what we can take a look. Oh, I actually append this child. Inner text. Our inner text. I append this text, but it's not going. That's okay. We see it at least in developer mode. If you don't have any more questions, I think I suggest you to go to your portal on the SATEC. And there is a very cool thing at the SATEC, you can do it for yourself. It is a practice section. Here you can find a lot of tiny, small JavaScript tasks. And if you solve all of these questions and make all of them work, you're going to improve your skills in JavaScript programming a lot. I would highly recommend you to do so. And the idea is very simple. Just run. This is accepted. I already did everything, but it starts with simple things. I think once you cover functions, you're going to be good to go. This is a great thing to practice your skills and master your JavaScript knowledge.
Can you show one more time, please, what you did? I was not able to finish.
Yeah, this is on the portal. If you go to the section practice, you're going to have these assignments or like questions to solve technical like a task with JavaScript. It starts with print your name like here, but it starts with very simple things like concatenate the string or use a comparison, and end up with some more complex tasks. This is like reverse and stuff like that. So if you get one by one through all of them, you're gonna master your skills in JavaScript really good.
Thank you.
Sure. All right. If you don't have any more questions, I wish you I hope you didn't. It was not too complex, and hope you get covered JavaScript sometime soon, and we can go to the React section. I think JavaScript is going to be about a month or so in our curriculum. Stop recording.